A very warm welcome to you. You are watching News9 Mediaverse and this is On Point with me. And today in On Point, I spoke with Sharmistha Mukherjee, daughter of former president, former defense minister, former external affairs minister, Pranab Mukherjee. A man who worked with Indira Gandhi, a man who worked with Rajiv Gandhi, though not part of his team, but then he was part of the Congress before he was shunted out for some time. A senior politician who worked with P.V. Narasimha Rao, a man who closely worked with Sonia Gandhi, someone who functioned as leader of opposition, a man who was part of the government of India for 8.5 straight years under UPA 1 and UPA 2 and then went on to become the President of the Republic. Yes, I am talking about Pranab Mukherjee. Pranab Mukherjee wrote a lot, maintained a daily diary. And this is not an autobiography. This is neither a biography. This is a complete lowdown, I would say 80%, which Sharmistha, daughter of Pranab Mukherjee, did, of his own life, his interaction with people, what he felt on a particular day, why he felt on a particular day, things he never spoke about, things he never wrote about, why Narasimha Rao's body could not enter AICC, what he felt that day, or why Sonia Gandhi made him do something which he was against, for example, to ensure that the Rabri Devi government is stable, or what he felt when the Congress lost power in 2014, or what he felt when Congress again lost power in 2019. How was it like to work with Indira Gandhi? What it was like to work with Narasimha Rao? What it was like to work with your political junior, but your boss now, Dr. Manmohan Singh. I spoke to her at length on Point. A very warm welcome on Point with me. And in today's edition, I'm going to talk to Sharmistha Mukherjee, a dancer, a very famous choreographer, daughter of former president, Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, and who's currently running the Pranab Mukherjee Legacy Foundation. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Kartikeya.
You have written a book, Pranab, My Father. What prompted you to write this book?
Well, of course, my father had, this is the book. Let me just share it, a glimpse of it with the audience. So my father had, jokingly told many journalists many years back that his daughter is going to write on him. And also my father had the habit of keeping diaries, as known to every senior journalist. So he had the habit of keeping diaries since like many years. And for any student or observer of political Indian politics, I think that would, they always felt that, it will give a great insight. And because my father had always been on very key positions in the government, he was a tall leader within Congress. So obviously there would be a lot of curiosity in people, and also curiosity in me. I mean, I was also very curious that what had my father had written in these diaries. And the diaries were in my custody. My father told me very clearly that no way it could be read before he passed away. And I did not even open the diaries till the time he was there. And after that, whatever I wanted to do, he left the decision on me. But some secrets, he said, would go away with him. And yes, after reading the diaries, I felt that perhaps certain things are there, which could have come out only when the government decide to declassify the related files, the related. So that is what, I felt that I should write about my father.
Sharmistha, I've gone through the book. I would like to keep this interview in a way which is more about you and your father's conversation. Can you tell me, because this book is a result of a relationship between a daughter and a father, parent and a child. What was his relationship with four very important people? And I'll start with three right now. Three prime ministers: Indira Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, and Manmohan Singh. How would you define it?
Well, Indira Gandhi was his mentor. And my father had maintained it till the very last day of his life that, whatever he was, wherever he reached in his life, it was all thanks to Indira Gandhi. because she was the one who actually taught him the art of politics, diplomacy, even how to dress up. Even she also advised my father, because of his very thick Bengali pronunciation, to keep a teacher in English, of course, which my father did not listen. But to that extent, like my father always, I mean, if there is one political person to whom my father's personal loyalty lied, that was with Indira Gandhi. After Indira Gandhi, he of course served the Congress party, but not any individual. With
Narasimha
PV
Rao?
Narsim, yes,
Narasimha Rao?
with PV Narsimha Rao, again, is a very old colleague of my father, and though senior to my father, they shared varied interests in literature, in philosophy. Both were ferocious readers. Narasimha Rao had a very close individual relationship with my mother too, and he would sometimes come home for meal. And so when Narasimha Rao became the prime minister, he first appointed my father as the deputy chairperson of planning commission, and later became a minister. So my father maintained a very close relationship with him even after his his prime ministership. And when his relationship with Ten Janpath deteriorated very badly, and despite that, in my mother's papers, I found a paper after her passing away. I was browsing through my mother's paper. I found something which showed that she stood as security for Narasimha Rao when he was charged and arrested in the CBI in a CBI case. And my father, one of his one greatest grudges against Sonia Gandhi was that Sonia did not allow the body of Narasimha Rao, a former Congress president, a former prime minister from Congress. She did not allow the mortal remains of PV Narasimha Rao to enter AICC. So my father could not really, forgive and forget about that incident, and he mentioned it to many times. Even just a few months before his passing away, he wrote in his diary, in context of the centenary celebration of Narasimha Rao's birth anniversary, that it should have been done by AICC, whereas it was being done by PCC in Telangana, but he should have been done by AICC. And then he wrote that perhaps, it's for dislike of Sonia Gandhi and her children, for PV Narasimha Rao. That's that's why they are not doing it. And so that is one shows the closeness between PV and him, that he was deeply hurt by the humiliation what PV faced.
Sharmishta, but what about Dr. Manmohan Singh? Because politically, Pranab Babu was senior uh, in politics to Dr. Manmohan Singh. I mean, to say he was a firefighter, he did a lot many things other than just being a minister. So, how would you describe that relationship, ups and lows?
Any discussion with my father, and this I'm telling you very sincerely, any discussion with my father about Dr. Manmohan Singh will either be preceded or succeeded by the statement, what a gentleman he is. He's a true gentleman. So the relationship between my father and Dr. Manmohan Singh, it began many years back when my father was the finance minister during Indira Gandhi's time, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was the governor, Reserve Bank of India. And after that, during Narasimha Rao, Dr. Singh became the finance minister. Baba was deputy chairman, planning commission. And then in UPA 1, UPA 2, Dr. Singh became the prime minister. Baba was a minister, senior minister in his cabinet. So I think, the respect and admiration what they felt for each other, and has been always very open and public. And of course, whatever, in a long course of working together for so many years under such very high pressure situations, there might have been points of disagreement or some issues, some tensions. But going through my father's diaries, I felt this, that there were many occasions of sparks flying, cold shouldering, but after some time it became normal. So I think that is just because the kind of respect my Dr. Manmohan Singh, the kind of respect he treated my father with, and also the genuine regard my father had for Dr. Manmohan Singh. And in fact, as the president, he thought of awarding Bharat Ratna to Dr. Manmohan Singh. And from one diary entry, I learned that he talked to the cabinet secretary to talk to Pulak Chatterjee to ascertain views of Sonia Gandhi regarding this. He felt Dr. Manmohan Singh should be given Bharat Ratna. But other than that one entry, after that, what happened, there is no other mention. So I do not know the reason behind not giving Bharat Ratna to Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Sharmishta, did you ever have a conversation with Pranab Babu? Why did he ever talk about him being not being recognized as a senior most congressman and given a pass when it came to making him the prime minister? Did you ever discuss that with him?
It can't be called a discussion. I once asked him a question that, Baba, do you have the desire to be the prime minister? So he said, of course I have the desire, an exact word. Any politician worth his salt would have this desire, but I'm not going to become one. I asked him why. They very definitely changed the subject. So whenever I had tried to, poke him on this, he very quickly changed the topic. So I felt he was not very comfortable talking about it. But my understanding of the topic is that my father definitely had the desire to be the prime minister, but he also accepted the fact that, he is not going to become one, primarily because of his lack of that complete trust on behalf of Sonia Gandhi towards him. Perhaps that is the reason he's never going to become the prime minister, other than the fact, of course, he was not a mass leader. My father was a very religious person. Perhaps he felt that, this is not in his destiny to be the prime minister. So what I felt that he has definitely had the desire, but it's fine, he also accepted it in his stride.
Do you did you ever feel that his strong views on why Congress took a very strong left of center politics somehow was held against him? Reading one of his books, when the CA was arrested from Chennai, in his book he said, "Would this have been done in any other religion?"
Yeah, that is very true. And we always believed that Congress is a centrist party. Congress had the capacity to accommodate people who are little left of the center or right of the center. Congress had, and that was the strength of Congress. And Congress cannot ever be too far right or too far left. Being the centrist party, that's how Congress became a umbrella organization which had the capacity to accommodate different and divergent views. And in a country and in a polity like India, that ability to absorb different kind of views is the strength of democracy, which for him was the primary strength of Congress. So when Congress started losing it and started going a bit towards the left, though in his economic policies he was towards left of the center, but in terms of social politics, social outlook, he felt that Congress should have, stuck to its very centrist point, rather than going towards any extreme, especially towards the left, definitely not towards the right.
What was his assessment of Prime Minister Modi? Because he was a political adversary, then he went on to become the president of this country. How did he assess him?
There's no doubt that there is a very good personal relationship with Mr. Modi. And that I also learned later from Baba's diaries, and also from Mr. Modi himself, that it goes many years back, even before Modi became the Gujarat chief minister, and they knew each other. And always, like Modi as a worker would come to Delhi and stay in the North Avenue, South Avenue area and go for morning walk. And Baba also used to go for morning walks. So they would come across each other, and Modi would always touch Baba's feet. And Baba would always talk very nicely to him. So anyway, the issue is that when Mr. Modi became prime minister, my father told him, and this I have heard from Mr. Modi. I mean, this particular reference is not there in my father's diary. But as per Mr. Modi, Baba told him that, look, we belong to two different ideological backgrounds. People have given you the mandate to rule, to govern, and the job of governance is the Prime Minister and his cabinet. I am not going to interfere in that. If you definitely need some guidance on constitutional matters and all, I mean, I am going to be there. So Mr. Modi, while narrating this to me, said that ये दादा के लिए कहना, इस बात को कहना बहुत बड़ी बात थी. So from this conversation, I glean that perhaps, from the very beginning, there was an openness and honesty between the Prime Minister and the President. And secondly, I think my father was very, very conscious about his role, constitutional role as limitation as president, and also limitations of the role. He was a copybook president. I mean, he wrote in his book also that his days of doing executive work is gone. That job is the current government's, who has been chosen by the people. So I think because he was very conscious of that role, he never tried to step into the territory of the government, which is the domain of the government. It's not that he just signed on the dotted line for everything, but he raised his concern, he raised his questions about the Modi government, but always within closed doors. And about the pertinent issues of the day, as my father as the president, whether bypassing parliament, the practice of this current government by bypassing parliament through ordinances, whether it's polarization of the society, whether it's attitude towards the marginalized section of the society, of any pertinent issues of the day, Baba as president has given ample speeches which are there in public domain. He did not name any particular government or any particular person or any particular incident, but I think skills developed over years of being a politician. He could convey his messages very strongly on any particular issues which was relevant. He did it as president. And after post presidency.
Okay.
So he was not a mute spectator.
On the lighter side, when he became the president, I know for the fact a lot of congressmen would come, a lot of people associated with the Congress party would come and take his advice. In retrospect, did you feel that the advice your father gave them, did they heed? Did they work on it?
I don't know, to be very honest. Like there is one incident, of course, the infamous trashing of the ordinance. From what I read by Rahul Gandhi, what I read in my father's that, like he advised some senior leaders of the party informally that they should not take the route of ordinance. On such an important matter, it was extremely difficult to have a discussion in the parliament and to get the act passed through parliament, not through ordinance. And he also questioned the then parliamentary affairs minister and a couple of other ministers that what is the hurry? Why are you in such a hurry? So in principle, actually, he was against bringing the ordinance, but he was aghast at the way Rahul Gandhi did it and publicly trashed a decision of his government in front of full media when the Prime Minister was abroad. I mean, so he was very, very upset about that.
Did he have a word on this with Sonia Gandhi?
I don't have any idea. I don't know.
When you're talking about this, a lot of people also think, as a journalist at that point of time, I also thought, one day, I would also ask a question, never got the chance. Why did he rush when there was a tirade against the UPA to meet Ramdev? That was the most surprising part. I remember I was at 7RCR reporting, and the news came that Pranab Babu with two other ministers, they have gone to meet Ramdev. Why did he do that? He was a savvy politician, and he provided that halo-ness and the credence to the gentleman. Why did that happen? Because after that, he acquired a life of its own, and he could challenge the entire UPA.
Yes, and he actually spoke about it, I think, in Indian Express Adda, if I remember correctly. After his presidency, he spoke and he explained about it. He said that it was not a government decision, it was his own decision. And, he wanted to meet Ramdev, trying to nip, because Ramdev was threatening to go for another agitation on the black money issue. So he thought if somehow he could convince Ramdev through dialogue, having a conversation with him, and nip the possibility of another agitation in the bud. But the problem was of actual conversation, the medium of conversation, the language. My father said that, he would not have understood my English and I would not, my Hindi, and I would not have understood his English. So how do we communicate? How do we converse? So then he requested Kapil Sibal to accompany him. And about the why that, I think there was another one or two more ministers. Why did they come? I don't know about it. He never mentioned about that. So, and of course, Dr. Manmohan Singh was kept in the loop. And my father admitted openly, even in his book also, and even in his that public interaction, what he had, that it was a big mistake on his part. He shouldn't have done that.
When we talk about your father's career, he worked with uh, Indira Gandhi, he worked with Narasimha Rao, he worked with Manmohan Singh. Uh, I'm not going to include the Rajiv Gandhi's tenure, but he also worked with Sonia Gandhi for a pretty long time, when she was out of power, when she was cutting her teeth into politics, UPA 1, UPA 2, as a president. How do you define this long relationship? Because, once we go through the book, it's like ups and downs, there are a lot of details, but there has to be a sum and total of relationship. He's wanted, but at a point of time, he's not trusted. He's required, but can't be given the top job. He must shoulder the responsibility, but then he has to be observed all the time. I think that it was a pretty, if I don't want to use the word complicated, very complex, I would say.
You are absolutely right, Kartikeya. And I think any long-term relationship, whether in terms of profession, whether in terms of personal relationship, is never black and white. There are always shades of gray, and it is complicated. It is complex, and it started. I mean, when Sonia, the bid for Sonia's. The cry for Sonia assuming the Congress presidentship, it became very strong within Congress. And my father was actually asked to find a solution because there was within Congress constitution that because within Congress constitution there was no provision to actually sack the existing Congress president. So anyway, that's a different story, though I have written about it in my book. So initially, it was, I don't think it was a very close relationship, or there was nothing to write home about. But it's over the years, it kind of grew. And what I perceived that, yes, there were of course problems, ups and downs, and there was this lack of complete trust. As a result, perhaps Sonia did not make my father the prime minister, but it was a very close, warm working relationship. And on many things, Sonia Gandhi, depended and also appreciated my father. And my father, on his part, thought Sonia was very intelligent, extremely hardworking. And one of the greatest qualities of Sonia Gandhi, what he felt that, she knew and acknowledged, unlike many other political leaders, what was her weakness. Her weakness when she joined politics, that she did not have any political experience. And she really worked hard to overcome that. So, and also Sonia, another thing, what my father, I read, that she had the ability to listen. I mean, she would always first listen to everybody's views and then only come to form her own decision, which is again very rare in political leaders of today. So what I felt that, there was a good warm relationship, but as any relationship, there is always ups and downs. One thing I felt about, the relationship between both with Dr. Manmohan Singh, with Sonia Gandhi, and with my father, over working for so many years together and under such high pressure conditions, there are bound to be differences. There are bound to be issues. There are bound to be by what my father,
Any one
used
issue
very
you can
often.
recount, your father was like dead against, and had to do it because Sonia Gandhi wanted him to do it.
Yes, there is. I haven't written about it because it's not there in my father's diary. But I have heard about this in a different context from a very senior leader of Bihar. Then when Lalu Prasad had to resign on that scam, and then he made Rabri Devi the chief minister. So the MLAs within Bihar Congress, they were very anti, and they didn't want to support the government. And my father also felt that Congress should not support, and he was quite strongly against it. But finally, Sonia Gandhi, for whatever reason, decided to support. And then my father was given the task of convincing the Bihar MLAs. you know so this senior leader told me that we were really surprised that how Pranab da, who of course totally understood our point of view, but once a party decision was made, how strongly he abided by it, despite it being against his own judgment. So this is one very interesting thing which I haven't written in the book, but which I have heard from a very serious senior. So that is something, what I felt, that my father spoke very strongly and very firmly and frankly, are two words he used very frequently in his diaries, that I spoke very firmly and frankly on any issues on CWC or any other platform within the party. But once a decision was taken, even if it was though contrary to his own views, he absolutely stuck to the party line.
Fabrisha, there's one gentleman whose name I would like to mention, before I go to other questions. He worked very closely with your father, Ahmad Patel. What was that? What was that relationship like? Because as a journalist, I would see him going inside his house, coming back at 12:30 p.m. And seamless interaction with, and he was extremely close to Sonia Gandhi. Reading out the messages. So how did that relationship work? Because your father was a senior guy, senior person. Ahmed Bhai was way off that seniority mark, but he had the heft because he represented Sonia Gandhi's voice. So how did that dynamic work out when UPA was in power?
You know what I felt going through my father's diaries, and also, of course, I have seen Ahmed Patel, coming to our house at wee hours of night, and having. So I think they shared a very cordial relationship. And Ahmed Patel, he was a very, very politically astute person. And so somewhere I think, they gelled very well. And there is a very interesting anecdote, entry in my father's diary that I read, that when the presidential discussions on the presidential candidate were going on before my father became president in 2012. And so that is the time. And one day, Ahmed Patel came to meet my father, and he told that supposedly Ahmed Patel suggested to Sonia Gandhi that let Pranab Mukherjee be made the prime minister, and let Dr. Manmohan Singh be made the president. But Sonia ji did not say anything. He remained quiet. And so that was something very interesting. And I personally feel that perhaps that triggered in my father's mind the last hope of perhaps becoming the prime minister. But that was not to be.
Okay. So you have written a part of it. So once this conversation was brought to the table, what was your father's response? Ahmed Bhai must have told him.
In such sense, sorry, I don't follow.
His conversation that he
no, he just noted this. I mean, he did not elaborate. I mean, my father just noted that, this is what Ahmed Patel, he came to meet me, and he said. So but he did not wrote anything else. Like he used to write one page per day. And, being such a busy person, I mean, there are so many things. So it's not that, until unless he really wanted to elaborate on some issues, I mean, he wouldn't. But, there is another interesting entry about 7 months back before his announcement of his name. So he went to meet Sonia Gandhi, and Sonia Gandhi, as per my father, he profusely praised him. And he told him that you are the best candidate for presidentship. And something he wrote that he wants me to continue as a minister and as the leader of the house. That means I'm not in the presidential race. So I think this is how also he interpreted, and this is how also he recorded. And then he went on to write, so then we discussed this. He gave a few points. So it's interesting, but this much I know. I mean, as suggested to me by one, that why don't you go and talk to Sonia Gandhi, that why aren't you making me the prime minister? I don't think he ever did that.
Okay. But how did this relationship transform when Rahul Gandhi started acquiring a bigger stature in the government? Because, by 2000 till 2004, it was Sonia Gandhi, senior leaders, Pranab Babu, Arjun Singh, uh, external affairs minister. You had two political secretaries. So there was a you had those basic 7 8 people. How did it start to change anything? Did he describe that? Because he came in, there was a second power center which emerged within the Congress party.
From Baba's diaries during UPA 1 and UPA 2, and of course, during the presidential years, there are very few references of Rahul Gandhi. And he really did not comment, because I guess he was so busy with his governance, and also another kind of politics in terms of managing the coalition, in terms of dealing with the senior leaders from other parties, in terms of managing the parliament, the ministry. So he did not really comment about people around Rahul Gandhi, and there was not really much in this thing, and didn't seem to be much interaction between him and Rahul. One of the earliest entry in his diaries was in context of some AICC session, not AICC, the CWC meeting towards the end of UPA 1 to discuss the election strategy. So there he wrote that Rahul spoke very strongly against coalition, and I had told him to elaborate his views further and put it logically. And he said he will come and meet me. And after that, then there are very few references that he's. I mean, where I came to know that he met Rahul, and of course he described Rahul as somebody who is very courteous and full of questions, and but also he wrote that he's yet to politically get more matured, and more or less he seemed to have a reasonably okay opinion about Rahul till the ordinance incident happened. I think my father's faith in Rahul got totally shaken after that, and he felt that somebody, a leader and a would-be Congress president of the party, if indulges in that kind of theatrics in public against his own government, that's something he just could not accept.
But then how did this relationship change? Because, after 2014, Rahul was in charge. He was in the president house. Did that relationship transform because he was the president of India?
No, I mean, with Rahul, as I say, that he hardly had any relationship, because I don't think he has really worked closely with Rahul. I mean, so that way there was not. It was more, Rahul used to come for, courtesy calls. So I don't think, my father, at least from his diaries, what I realized, I don't think they had, any kind of working relationship also. I mean, these were mostly of, what Rahul made was perhaps courtesy calls. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, he just, like in his few entries, he wrote that Rahul came to visit. I mean, he's very courteous. Rahul came to visit. He talked about the organization. So like that. I mean, Rahul came. I advised him to join politics. So it's just like that, straight statements. And I don't think he had much opportunity to even work with Rahul Gandhi. Obviously, because he was a much senior leader, and Rahul was gaining prominence in the party, but obviously not so much in the government. Because as per my father's words also, like later on I came to know about this ordinance issue, that from some senior leader in Congress, that Rahul supposedly tried to convince the government not to bring the ordinance, but he failed. So when I reported to my father, he said that Rahul, being the kind of position he is in, despite that, if he lacks the ability to influence people within the party, and without indulging in theatrics, perhaps politics is not his calling.
Really?
Yeah. It is there in the book.
Okay, no, your book describes, his thought process on UPA 1, his thought process on UP 2. Did you ever discuss with him, because book has a template. There's so many nuggets in the book, but that will be read by people. But when you write the book, you keep something, you keep out something. Like for example, I wanted to know, did you ever have a conversation with him? 2014 कैसे हार गए, that sort of a
Yes, 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 absolutely. 2014 kaise haar gaye. So obviously, he talked about it to be at length, which is, which will take, a long uh, discourse. But one of the reason, he gave, not reason, but he said that, if the vice president, Rahul then was the vice president, he said that if the vice president of your party shows such disdain publicly for his own government, why should people vote for you again? I mean, that's, he took that ordinance, as one of the reasons of the fragility of the government and the distrust uh, of key people of the party against the government.
Are you saying that he felt that Rahul Gandhi was responsible for his own party's defeat in 2014?
Win or loss in any election, it's multi-causal. Yeah. So exactly, I said that is multi-causal. There are various reasons. So so it is not possible to have pinpoint any one particular point. But Rahul Gandhi's behavior reflected a lack of confidence in his own government. So what my father tried to point out, that if the vice president of the party doesn't have confidence in his government, then why should people vote for you? But that is just one of the reasons. What happened in 2014, that utter decimation of Congress side by side, the
what did he
phenomenal
because
rise of BJP.
his thought process is more important. All of us can feel anything, but what Pranab Babu felt,
he felt that firstly, the UPA 2 itself was plagued from the very beginning of conflict within the government because of coalition politics. As a result, there was definite policy paralysis. Many people, who thought that after UPA 1, the withdrawal of support of the left bloc, so the economic reform agenda will be undertaken under UPA 2. But that could not be done because of, again, opposition from the coalition parties. And from Baba's book, what I felt that, from the very beginning, UPA 2 seemed to have been plagued with, various internal conflicts. And once he told me something very interesting, that UPA 2, despite having more number of MPs than UPA 1, was from the very beginning was weak, because during UPA 1, Congress had to depend on just one block of the left parties, who were far more predictable, towards whether they're opposition or support of the government. They were far more predictable, spoke in one voice, and also, it was on ideological ground. But whereas in UPA 2, everybody tried to, take the flesh, their pound of flesh from the coalition. So as a result, the prime minister started, losing that kind of authority, which is needed. I mean, from the very beginning, what he felt that it is conveying a portrayal of a weak government. Where he wrote somewhere, which I have quoted also, that I don't know how to run a government in which nobody likes to work, and if anybody tries to take a decision, everybody tries to stop it. So it's a very, I mean, I see in his UPA 2, UPA 1 was a very jubilant mood, whereas but in UPA 2, there seem to be these internal contradictions, Mamata Banerjee making her demands.
His own office getting bugged.
His own office getting bugged. His own office getting bugged due to Mamata Banerjee. There has to be, the government has to, roll back the fare hike.
How did he feel when he came to know, Sharmishta, when he realized that his own office is getting bugged?
There is nothing, to be very honest, much about it, other than what is already reported in the media. And there is not much really about it. I mean, so that's why I decided not to write about it, because it's already there in the media.
Okay.
So,
Okay, fair enough. But when Congress lost in 2019, you were in politics, he was out of it, he was leading a retired life. What did he feel? Two consecutive smashing defeat. Did you ever have a conversation? Because at that point of time, he would have the complete and outsider's perspective of what's happening. What did he say?
While I was in politics, after I joined politics, I kept on asking him about what is the future of Congress. And he would always say, and he also wrote in his diary, that I cannot believe in Congress Mukh Bharat. It is just not possible. Congress has to revive, because the fate of the nation depends on that. A weakened Congress is also a weakened India. But how is going to happen? Who is going to do it? He was um, and especially after 2019, he was in a sad mood, but he never discussed it openly with me, because obviously, me being in Congress politics then, he perhaps felt it wiser not to dishearten me, or not to criticize anybody in front of me. And in fact, once he got very irritated, and he just snapped at me that the job of reviving Congress is not yours. Just leave it to the Congress president and the senior leaders of the party. You just concentrate on the task assigned to you by the party. You don't have to look here and there. So what I could gather, it's only after he's passing away, and from his diaries, from his so he was very upset, but somewhere he also held himself responsible, himself in the sense, not him, but the kind of um, a part of the process, which did not happen in one day, but happened over decades.
That being?
Over decades, that the weakening of the organization, concentration of power within the party in one family, and this whole personality cult around the Gandhi Nehru family, and the belief.
Did he feel that?
Yes. He, and also towards literally the fag end of his life, just before a month before he passed away. I mean, he questioned himself that, am I not to be responsible, or people of like me, who blindly followed Indira Gandhi and later Sonia Gandhi, aren't we responsible for weakening of the party, for stopping the democratic process of electing leaders at different level? Aren't we responsible? I am responsible for making Congress the fiefdom of one particular family. So I mean, so that was his, I think, he was sad about it. He was sad about it, and he was being able to now look at it from the last 30-40 years, since when it started. Actually it started from his mentor, from Indira Gandhi's time. And so, but it took him so many years to distance himself and look back at that journey and the journey of the party.
Are these notings in the diary, or he would talk to you about it?
No, these are all notings in the diary. These are all notings. He wouldn't talk to me about this.
He wouldn't talk to you about this. So these are all part of his notings about the Gandhis, concentration of power in one.
Yes. These are all
family, stopping of the democratic tradition, election.
Yes, all his notings.
And these were after 2019.
Yes, the notings, but like for example, I came across a very interesting again noting in his diary. Somewhere is, I think, 1971, 1972, and which I added in that. I put it in the context of the Congress, the situation of Congress, though it is a very earlier noting. Somewhere in 1971-72, during the there was AICC session. And he noted that there is a lack of dissenting voice within Congress. He said, for the first time, I'm noting that in AICC sessions, there are no dissenting voice. He wrote it that time in Bengali, that Birodhi Pokho, Birodhi Paksh. Within Congress, there had been always lot of dissenting voices, and that's why he wrote that, when a decision taken within through discussions in Congress forum, after accommodating, all these different voices, including the dissenting notes, our decision taken within Congress could have been considered as a reflection of the views of the people of India. And that was also the reason for ubiquity of Indian National Congress. So he noted that, and he also noted, I don't know whether it's good for democracy, but as time passed, perhaps what happened in Congress, that is the lack of internal democracy within Congress, perhaps also impacted the polity of the country. And as I say, these are all his notings. Of course, some I have rephrased, and because I have taken it from here and there. As I say, there is one entry in somewhere in 1971. So, and of course, there are many, post 2014. There are lot of his entries about the future of Congress, and it was very clear that he was quite depressed about it. When he wrote also that. One question keeps on haunting me, that what is going to happen to Congress? Is it just going to disintegrate, or is it just going to be one of the partners in a coalition at the center, forming a very weak government, at the mercy of other. So whether also he questioned whether it is wise to replace a national party like Congress with a combination of regional parties. So he put it as a question mark. Regional parties at the cost of a national party, a question mark. So these are all these stray comments. But yes, around 28 July, I think that was the day, when he really, wrote about his own self-retrospection and blaming himself and people like him. It was just about a month before he passed away, saying that, we are the people who have allowed Congress to become the playground of one particular family, and that has impacted the polity of this country.
Why did you join politics and why did you leave politics?
Don't ask me. Actually, I joined politics in 2014. I became a member of the party.
And
that is the time.
Pranab Babu also on a tweet.
Sorry?
And you fought with Pranab Babu on a tweet also when he went to.
Yes, RSS. So I joined politics on a very, very impulsively, thinking that, this is the time as a Congress supporter, to fight for the party, to fight, because I was also shocked like the rest of the country, Congress getting 44. Before that, when my father became president, he asked me whether I would like to contest from Jangipur. So I immediately said, no way. I was just not interested in politics. But I think that is the time my father perhaps planted a seed, in my head. So in 2014, I just joined the party totally for ideological reason, but very soon, I think within 5-6 years, I realized that this is not my cup of tea. I can't do it. And especially after 2020, February 2020, I still remember, it was after the Delhi election results. That is the time I decided to quit politics, because I felt in Delhi that, people, we did not even give a fight. वो बोलते हैं ना कि लड़ने से पहले ही हथियार डाल देना. It was like that, So, very, with lot of apprehension, I asked my father, Baba, would you mind if I quit politics? Pat came the reply, कि तूने politics किया कब जब छोड़ेगी? When did you do politics that you will leave, So I think my joining politics was perhaps a impulsive decision, but I realized that this is not my cup of tea. And no matter, no matter what people are thinking, that I have written this book to perhaps join BJP at behest of BJP, people are most welcome to think whatever they think. But forget about BJP, Congress, A, B, C. I am just not interested in politics.
Before I close my two, one thing I want to ask, because you yourself joined the Congress party. What is this? Everyone knows who leaves Congress party that everything is being organized around family is an issue. But then people inside Congress party don't see a future beyond them. Why?
No, I don't know. Honestly speaking, I don't have any answer to this question. And what my father also, what I felt that there should be a genuine election within political at every level, to let leaders emerge. But somewhere, I think he also knew that it is perhaps not possible. So, but why this? Uh, uh, why this? What is the psychology? I seriously don't know. And let me just end with one personal anecdote.
Okay.
I reacted to a Twitter of Ram Guha when he was in politics, the famous historian. He's something like, he said that Gandhi should quit, for the best. That's the best for the party and for the country also. Gandhi should quit politics. Being a politician within Congress party that time, I reacted very sharply to it. And of course, Ram Guha, being a very decent gentleman, didn't even bother to reply. But it was pointed out to me, another very close common friend, and he said, why did you quit? But today, I really, looking back, I think that perhaps Congress, the workers within Congress, or perhaps the family itself, should realize that the greatest service they can do to Congress and to the nation is perhaps if they take a real if they step back totally and perhaps quit politics for some time.
But they don't occupy a position, but they are in politics.
Even quit politics also, because what Ram Guha said, and which I agree also, because till the time they are in politics, they are always going to pull the strings from behind. And perhaps, and also their position in the party is such that people will, like we have seen what happened, like after Rahul Gandhi resigned as Congress president, and he was very firm that, nobody should Congress from the Gandhi Nehru family should become Congress president. But there was such an uproar within Congress itself, that Sonia Gandhi had to step in. So I really don't understand this very strange, complex phenomena of the relationship between the Gandhi Nehru family and Congress in today's context. Earlier, it was different, but in today's context, I really don't understand. But that is something I think they just need to figure out.
What I feel personally, Sharmishta, more such books should be written, because these are not about personal 5 minutes of fame. Because unlike other Western democracies, where book writing after demitting office, notes being made public, is part of public education. It's not sort of a scintillating piece of pulp fiction. It's about public education. It's about how senior people, those who control the levers of power, felt at that point of time, felt when they were out of power. So I think that's a great job by bringing another side of Pranab Babu to the entire country. He was also a complex man. As you said, his economy was left of center, but his politics was slightly right of center. But that's what all humans are. And thank you very
much. His politics, I would like to say, more centrist. His personal belief might be whatever. Personally, he was a devout Hindu, a religious person. But he once told me, and it's also there in my practice, that no matter whatever is your personal belief, that is your personal belief. You cannot let it impact. You cannot let it influence your decisions. Whether in politics or whether in governance.
But thank you so much, Sharmishta, for joining me and ensuring that this book comes out, ensuring that another, side of Pranab Babu's personality comes out, so that people not only get to know him just as a politician or a powerful minister, but as a person who would note down things which were important to him, which were important to the country, because therein lies answers to so many things which are not available to us. Thank you so much, Sharmishta.
Thank you so much.